I am Anup Gupta, Mathematics IBDP teacher and moderator for this workshop. I have the pleasure to introduce you our today's session leader, Ms. Kakali Datta Banik, whose life has been associated with the world of education for many years now. With a rich experience of 25 years in a variety of both national and international curriculum, Ms. Kakali is one of the true believers and promoters of IB education, considering it an excellent curriculum, providing students with the education required for having a bright future. As a lifelong learner, she has been using any opportunity for her own learning and has been transferring her knowledge to other colleagues, believing that learning happens in collaboration and continuous sharing of perspectives and practices, for which we are here now. Over to you, Ms. Kakuli.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anup. Good evening and good afternoon or good morning to one and all who are all present here from the zone or the region of the part of the world that you are in. First of all, accept my greetings and thank you so much for being here. I'm Kakali, as introduced by Anup, and at present enjoying my role as a DP teacher here in Genesis. And I need not say this that each day is filled with excitement, learning, experiences, struggles, and of course, challenges too. In fact, in 2019, when we got this understanding of IBDP introducing this mathematics to us, we were all at a juncture where we didn't know where to start from, what to do. However, there were a lot of workshops, a lot of interactions did happen. But at the end of the day, it was us in the department where we had to lead and we had to see that how this needs to be taken forward. So with a lot of brainstorming and all, of course, we were lucky enough to have 4 teachers. So we started with that. And throughout this journey, we have really come a long way trying to understand some best practices for which we are here today, sharing with you all. And of course, at the same time, would really love to learn and get a learning from you all. Any experiences as and when we get a chance to speak. So majorly, I'm not focusing here on the pattern of mathematics or what analysis approaches and what are the syllabus boundaries, where's the mind mapping, etc. These all things we do have a very good document in there in IB. So I'm not going with that because all that is there. What I'm trying to say here is what did we do in our department, in our school, with the help of all the workshops and the guidances that we got and proceeded so that whatever was expected is being taken care of and our learners are being they reach that standard. So let's start, but then I'm starting with something which I would request all the participants first to log in. This is a link which I would request Anup to post on the chat and kindly log into this.
Yes,
Anup,
ma'am.
have you
The
posted
link
it?
has been posted. May I request all the participants to kindly log in?
Yeah. As you log in, it is basically there is the another slide which is going to come up with questions. What you have to do is you need to type when I ask you to type further. I'm giving you the instructions in a while. The only thing is that make sure that you log in to this link. Could you just raise your hand once if you are able to log in? Or just type in the chat box saying a yes. Anup, can we see people there? Since it's there, as you're logging in, I would like all of you to come back to the slideshow because there's something there on the slide. If you miss that, you won't be able to take part in the activity. Henceforth, please come back to the slideshow. And then you can continue with that as it is getting logged and you can write in there. We are supposed to watch the next slide carefully. It'll be there on screen for a while, and then I'll pour in my question. All right. You must have observed certain words on that slide, which I purposefully did not say you before. But now I want you to write down the words that you must have, you remember, and waiting for the responses that how many can you just write down. There was a slide for some while there on the screen. There were words there. I would request the participants to write that on this link. If we can just go and write it on this link. Anup, can you just see any words popping up? I hope the
Yes,
screen was
ma'am.
visible.
Yes. I can see some of the words that are written over here. Do you
All
want me
right,
to share with you?
surely. And is there any word that is getting a little bigger? I'm though coming to that screen.
Mm, not yet, ma'am. But yes, gradually the numbers are increasing.
Okay. So while mine is also loading in, we can see that how many participants were able to remember some specific words out there as it keeps splashing out here. Just taking some time to load in.
Ma'am, there is one word which is increasing. I mean, now there are two words which are increasing in size.
Oh, I see the student. Yeah, it's there on my screen as well. I see student. Many of you had remembered this word, spoon. Yeah, there is light table, pillow, student's pencil, mud. All right. So once we are able to see this, you can just pour in more words. But the idea that I wanted to do this activity for was there anything in your mind, or is there anything specific that you were able to write? Totally up to you, though. How many words were you able to write? And what is it that you notice? Is there something that you would like to just unmute yourself and you can just speak, or raise your hand and Anoop can guide you? Was there anything in your mind? Like, is there any specific word that caught your eye, or it was like anything that you would like to share with all of us?
May I request the participants to just raise their hands? We would like to hear from you. What was there in your mind while you looked into the previous screen? Anybody?
Do
Miss
we have any
Asalata
hands
has.
raised? All right. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening.
Good
I
evening.
could make the connections between the words when I was reading them. When I looked at
Right.
pencils, student, and then pencil, and the table, and then the spoon, which we use every day. So those were the connections
Exactly.
I was making.
Great. That was
Thank you.
really nice. Thank you. Is there anyone else would like to share anything else other than the she said connections? All right. So of course, I did this at times with my students in the class, and they do come up with more understanding. And these are the words that I've really got from them, that at times they have contextualized it, they have personalized it, as ma'am Ashalata ma'am also said that yeah, she had certain connections that she had made. Some people said experience of memory games that they do remember based on that. But somewhere or the other, there was some strategy that was always working for people who came up with maximum words. If I do the same activity once again, is there that you can just quickly write down now in the chat box about how many words could you write? I'm just having the same kind of an activity. It's not the same words. So be careful. And again, watch the slide now for a lesser time though. Yeah, any inputs, anyone. Was there that this time you were able to write more because you were more focused? Anup?
Ma'am, I'm waiting for people to chip in.
Surely.
Yeah, we have one response where um, one of our participant, Ashalata ma'am, she's saying that yes, she managed to write more number of words this time.
So can I have it from others as well? That is there anything that it was more or less, or it was too less time, then now you couldn't do so? What was your insight? Just a minute.
Ma'am, we have Miss Neha. She wants to say something. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
Miss Neha, please.
Yeah, this time we were more focused, I guess, maybe because in that I could remember more words. So book, television, seven, sanitizer, spectacles. So yeah, this time I remembered more words.
Yeah. So when we are conscious, when we are about to say it is, it's more that we are about to come. All right. Alongside now, as this was one of the activities wherein I just had to take it up with this understanding that when we are focused, when we are able to personalize, when we are there, when we seek in certain things, it gets more clarity towards us. So it's very important for us to have that. Alongside, we will be also having throughout this session a quiz that's going to reveal you a 11-letter word by the end of this session. Anup will take you through because he's the one who's going to give you these clues. Yeah, Anup, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So as you can see this screen on the screen, this icon will take you through that. Of course, we are on, on that step where we will be having a clue, which will take you to figure out what the letter will be the part of those 11 letters that you are actually looking forward to. So you will be given a clue with each emoji. Each emoji will lead you to one letter. In the end, you will get 11 letters, or you say alphabets. You need to unscramble them to form a word. That is the essence of today's workshop.
Thank you so much, Anup. So, oh, there pops up the first clue. So, Anup, go ahead with the first clue.
Yes, Kakuli
I
ma'am.
hope all of you are there with a paper and a pen because this is what you need to write it down. And by the end, we have to unscramble it to get the perfect word. Yeah.
So, are we all ready with the first clue then? Okay. So, the first clue is the first letter of the word that strikes you while you look at the image appearing on the screen.
Thank you, Anup. All right. So, alongside today's objective that I'm really looking forward in this whole session is I've taken a statement here from the IBDP guide, which says mathematics provides a unique language to describe, explore, and communicate the nature of world we live in, as well as being a constantly building body of knowledge and truth that is distinctive in its certainty. I would like to hear from you people that if you have to materialize the statement as stated in the guide in your own class, what is it would be your step? What do you think as a teacher, as a facilitator, you will try to do so in your classroom so that this comes true? I would request you to unmute yourself and please speak. Anyone? What do you think that to make this true, what are we going to do as a teacher?
May I
Anup,
request your inputs to be shared with us? Anybody? Please raise your
just
hand.
raise your hands. Do we have Anup? Anup, what do you think that is there anything that can be what as you to put it lively in the class? You can start saying.
I mean, I would like to start with some activity which will, stride them through and will make them, start looking into what exactly are they going to explore. So that is something I would like to go ahead with.
All right. So you just say that you will start with an activity. Is there any other inputs from anyone else? You can unmute yourself and you can speak. If there's nothing, then at least I can just take it to you further, that when I went through these, and we in the department, moreover, I would say that in our department meeting, we came up with this. So there are few things that really came up in our mind, that our teaching has to be inquiry based, because that is what is one of the most requisite. We just cannot go and keep on giving them the formulas and then expect certain things from them. Secondly, technology. The inquiry has to be embedded with the support of technology. Alongside, there has to be a lot of mathematical modeling to make sense of the real world. So, my task should be pertaining, or should indicate, give my students a clear understanding of the modeling that is there around. And henceforth, we come up with those IAs, those assessment that we always feel that the students can't make it. And most of the common statements, we get it from our students saying that, ma'am, all explorations were fine, but the maths IA was the most toughest one. And even in the recent workshops, we have been always discussing more about IA, what the topic should be given. But as a teacher, I feel it becomes a very, very important responsibility for us to start that right in the beginning. It is not that I have to wait for the last topic and then do so. So how in Genesis, alongside, we all teachers come together, try and plan out an activity or do so, is what I'm trying to take you further, for which we will be taking up a task. So all of you need to answer that, though the guiding questions would be there. And we are just going to take up one task that I do with my students in the beginning, henceforth, to make sure that these things are being taken care of. Oh, Anup, your turn. The second clue. Hello, Anup. I think I'll give you this.
No. Sorry,
Yeah,
ma'am. Slightly the network issue at my end, so that's how it's getting a small delay.
So you just give the second clue.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So here we have the second clue with us. The second clue is the first letter of the mathematical function that depicts the COVID growth. I repeat, the first letter of the mathematical function that depicts the COVID growth.
Thank you, Anu. So this is one of the problems that most of you, some of you must have seen there already. It's there, a part of the toolkit. And we hesitant to, where initially when I also saw this and it was there as one of the add-ons to our resources, I also was very, very thinking of how should I take it up with my students. It is whether they will be able to express, do or not. And the most important thing is, when should I take it, with what topic and how long. So I would like all of you to solve this question. Anup, I would request you to even post this in the chat, so that when the questions are there, this write-up is already there. And could you just have a quick read of it?
Yes, ma'am, surely. Let me first read it and immediately I'll post it on the chat box.
Sure.
Okay. You are a detective and have been called to the Quiet Plains Game Reserve. A dead elephant has been discovered just inside the reserve, and it looks as if it has been the victim of poachers. As soon as you arrive, you have the crime scene secured and the temperature of the elephant's body is taken. The body temperature is 27 degrees Celsius. You make sure that the elephant is not moved as the crime scene is searched for clues. The body temperature is taken again an hour later and found to be 24 degrees Celsius. It is vital for your investigation that you determine the time when the crime took place if you are going to identify or eliminate key suspects in the investigation. You have studied IB mathematics, and the police chief has put you in charge of working out when this crime took place. Thank you.
All right, just post this as well. And I will not take more time, but then jump into the task. So the task that is being given out here is, what is your understanding of the question from a mathematical perspective? So it will be great if you can unmute yourself and answer. I'm going with some questions which is being suggested here. First question. If you go through the scenario, what do you think are the variables here? Just raise your hand and Anup can help you out to answer. Yeah, Anup?
Absolutely,
What are the
ma'am.
variables?
I think our participants are looking into the question once again.
Sure. Let's give a minute more.
Okay, we have hands raised from Miss Swati. Miss Swati, can you please unmute? Yeah, please.
Yeah, are the two variables the time and temperature?
Right, okay. I would not say right or wrong. Yeah, of course, that is what. Is there anyone else who finds anything else? Swati says that she's got time and temperature. Anything else? If not, I'll go to the next question. What will you have found out when you have solved the problem?
Kakuli ma'am, I just want to read out two more responses before you take
Sure.
through the second one. We have a response from Mr. Desai, body temperature, and also
All
Miss
right.
Lata, who has written time and the body temperature.
Oh, great. So everyone most probably are coming up with those two factors. Great. Or those two variables. Fine.
Yes.
So now, next question. What will you have found out when you have solved the problem? What are we looking into the problem? You can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Better if you can unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, we would like to hear from you.
What are you looking for in this problem?
Miss Swati, I see your hands raised. Do you have anything to share with us?
Yeah, as much as I can recall the question, are we looking at the time infant died?
Okay, so we are looking for the time of the crime. All right. Thank you. Any other response in the chat, Anup?
Yeah, I have one response from Mr. Desai. When did the elephant die?
Yeah, so the same question being said in different forms. All right.
I
What
can.
other information? Yeah,
Yeah,
Anup.
yeah. Shall I?
What
Shall
other
I?
information do you need to know? Do you think that this is less? It's less of us to solve, or do you think that it is enough, sufficient, and you can solve it out? So, do you want to know yes or no? You can just say yes or no. That's it. What is your personal feeling about it? Can you solve this information, or you think information is less for us to solve this at all? Not possible for us to solve.
Yes, Miss Swati.
Yes, definitely more information will be required.
All right, so this is not right for us to solve, and we cannot get it through any of the mathematical tools.
I have
Great.
another response
Okay.
from Mr. Desai where they have written that yes, for them it is
She
there.
said yes.
Yes.
Okay, that means most of them are saying that they have less of information. All right. So, is there anything there which you can ignore in this whole problem? Anything which you think that was not required for you to know?
Anybody from the audience, from the participants, if there is anything that you can share, something that you can ignore in the given situation.
Or everything was important to be kept? That's fine. What is your perspective about it?
Well,
I don't think
okay.
so. We have got any answers?
Yeah, poachers.
Poachers. Okay. So you didn't want to know that who are the ones who have actually committed the crime. Fine. How can you represent the information available to you? Is there any ways that you would represent or take down these information? The information, as you are saying, that you have been able to take this down, that it was variables like temperature and the time. So how do you think, or is there a particular way in which you're going to represent your information? You'll take it in a particular manner. One more question to go. Of course, I'm not going to have more questions other than that here, because it's very important to see that how this questions, because when this activity was given to my students, we gave it to our students here, it was given in groups. So they were divided in groups. They really thought, they had a very healthy discussions amongst themselves. They had their own perspectives. So I even had two groups with very, very different uh, things coming up. So, and they just had to, yes,
Yeah,
Anup?
we have some responses that I wish to share with you here. So Miss Ashalada, she's saying that prayer model, the quadrant, that's something she might like to use here. And Mr.
Okay,
Desai,
that's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and Mr. Desai has mentioned that it's tabular form.
Okay, tabular form. That's the first thing that the students also come up with. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
So, can you suggest a possible time that the crime was committed to the police chief? So, is it with this information, you can give us any time, any ways that you can say or solve this out and give the answer? That's the last one here on the task, on this task. And henceforth, as I was saying, and this when this task was given to them, yes, initially, because this is the first task which I gave them as well, difficult for all of them to come up. But with these questions, as we kept on having a lot of discussions in the class, they started looking into the problem with an understanding. As rightly said, some of them had a tabular form, some of them had a very interesting ways of representing their own ways, and also came up with a I also got an answer for the time in which it was there, and the reasoning was also very valid for them. So, is there any answer from our participants, Anup?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
yes, on the basis of body temperature. That's what we have got from Desai.
Yeah, so I would love to share my experience here. My students said that must be night, ma'am, because it's not possible that they will do this in the daytime. So that was quite vague, not towards mathematical, but then at least it came from them. They were able to say this. Henceforth, I'm not taking you further. So this kind of questioning, happening, discussions was so healthy that they were able to come up with answers in every group. I never got anyone who said, we just don't know what to do. And I had a chance of doing this task with both there in school, and of course even in the on the online mode where we had channels and the students went into their groups and they did this task. So the same task goes further. And can anyone, just as a teacher now, can you just tell me that what is the essence, I like what is it that will happen with the thinking of the students when you introduce this scenario update, that you are told that the body temperature taken was only accurate and to the nearest degree? Do you think that you're already giving the students any kind of things? I would like to hear from all of you. Or you just this is a series of questions. What is the purpose of this scenario update? What will this happen
Maybe have
expected?
maybe have somebody to share their idea with respect to this particular update or scenario.
If that's
Yeah,
there's
you can
someone,
either write on the chat box or you can just raise your hand. We would be very happy to have your opinion.
sure. In fact, when this was happening in the class, it was like it was really nice to have those expressions even on the face, wherein the students said, oh my god, we just got it, and now how can this small change really have a difference on my reading or have a difference on my result? So this is actually, since I don't have anybody, I'll just go further saying
Ma'am,
that such,
sorry,
yeah,
ma'am, I just want to add here. We have a response from Ms. Ashalata. She has written that it's cognitive critical thinking skills.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming up with this. Because, we really want them to understand that the significant figures or how even it makes a difference to my reading. And don't you think this is too crucial even for their internal explorations? So when they have this kind of an experience while solving a question in the class, I'm sure they come up with the understanding and more clarity of how to even assess or interpret their data, whatever has been, accumulated through the problems. I'm just browsing it further. This further task has got a scenario update too, which again, whatever model that they come up with, it is basically a linear model that they came up with, because it is a linear kind, because two readings were there and 2 points for a line. So lot of healthy discussions happened in the class when they came up that it is linear because there were 2 points. It's easier for us to get so, but then we are not sure whether it will stay linear or will it have some other kind of a function. Henceforth, then there was a scenario 2. This task has got, there are 4 of them, the task D. I'm just taking you through this because then, of course, there was the third data which did not fit into theirs. That made them think. This again came up further, adding on to yours, ma'am, as Ashalata ma'am is saying, that adding on to their thinking, that what is it? And can anyone just suggest that if it was not linear and it just nullifies, is there something, or do we get a bandwidth of introducing another part, as we had stated before, looping into that what can you, as a teacher, introduce out here? I hope I'm clear with my question. I mean to say, as a teacher, do you think that there is any need to introduce any particular tool, method, or ways in which you would suggest your students to go forth and go for their findings? Yeah, Anu?
Yeah, ma'am, I'm just waiting for our participants to share their ideas on it. Miss Swati, I still see your hands raised. Do you have anything to share with us?
I don't think so.
I'm still waiting. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we have another thing which Ashalata ma'am has shared. It's learners should be encouraged to share different approaches.
All right. At the same time, ma'am, here I would take this privilege of introducing my GDCs to my students and saying that now they can really go. Of course, they could have done that before as well, but then here it becomes mandatory for them. They can explore more. And here I would introduce that to them to go into this exploration, inquire, and find out through a lot of functions, etc., that they must have revised. Anup, I think the next clue is waiting for you. And then we will proceed quickly.
All right. So are we all ready? So this time I'm going to give you clue. The clue numbers will be third, fourth, and fifth. So please listen to it very carefully. So the clue is, repeat the letter that you have got from clue 2 3 more times. I repeat the letter 2 that we have got from clue 2 3 more times, which will work for clue number 3, clue number 4, and clue number 5. Okay?
Thank you, Anup.
Thank you.
So the next one, of course, there is an update. I'm not taking it any further. It's there as a part of our toolkits we can go for. And here I would like to share that even my students came up with these guiding questions to an extent of talking about the rate of change of temperature. They came up with this ambient temperature. They came up with this, all these constants that can be the body temperature, as rightly said by one of our participants before. And this is how, without me telling them anything in the class, there were a lot of things that came up and they could come up with this understanding. And as a group, there was a presentation which was done. So if you see, go through this one problem, what all concepts do you think the above task has successfully launched in our students' mind? Any inputs quickly? Can we have it? Unmute yourself and you can say.
Ma'am, we have one response.
Yeah.
That is, any method my learners use will be accepted, and instead of suggesting them to use a particular method, I would give them the freedom to choose their own method.
All right, that's really wonderful. That is what there, and then at the same time, ensure that they're not even distracted to that level that they're doing something in a way. We have to at the same time come back to a concept, make sure that they're justifying their things with a particular concept out there. So anyone who
Absolutely.
would just quickly write to say that what are the concepts that we touched out here? Because I was able to do so many things, talk about the whole understanding, but in fact it was an exploration wherein the students came up adding on a lot of concepts.
Okay, I will just continue with what our participants said earlier. The further
Sure.
two things that Sir probably said was, as the final outcome will matter and not what method is used, as far as it is correct. So I believe,
Sure.
yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah. So, going ahead with that, because of this, I think there is a lot of insight that there was functions, modeling, graphing, use of GDC, and to an extent, there was also introduction to calculus, which was like later on taken up in the class with my batch one. When I did that, even then we could refer to this question and say that was the time when you wanted to find the rate at which it was decreasing, the temperature of the body temperature was decreasing. So we could refer to that example back when we came over after quite a few months. So it comes very naturally, and it is one embedded in the other, and the students are very well able to do so. The objectives that we were actually talking about, if I see right here, the inquiry based technology, mathematical modeling, and my explorations, some suggestions, the real life problem solving, everything is being taken care of when I talk about this one particular. And of course, we did not have it on one day. It was over the days, some part as their findings, some as collaborative in the class, and they came up with their answers at the end. So, this is what really helped, because I find that after doing such activities, they're able to come up with a lot of ideas from their own end when it comes to their exploration. Anup, you go for the next clue quickly.
Yeah. So before I go ahead with the next clue, Kakuli ma'am, what do you think? Shall I repeat the clues that we have, given to the participants so far?
Yeah, we can just go. Is there anybody who's joined late, or else we can just continue with it?
Okay. So if you allow me, I can go ahead with the next one. Shall I go with the
The
next
next,
one?
yeah, next one, yeah.
Okay. So now the next clue is, this letter is also one of the basic operation of mathematics.
All right, thank you, Anup. The
Yeah.
another one is like when we continue with this inquiry, as technology is one of the parts, and I would like now, at least after reading the question, people who've been there will understand that this is one problem that really takes a lot of time for the students to solve when it comes, even when we're there in the school. They have a lot of confusions, misconceptions about the fact that which line should I take off. Ma'am, I'm just so confused when it comes to writing or drawing. So this is an island which has got the control of all economic resources within its territorial waters, and the position of the three islands are shown out here. So how do you think that you can model the position of these three islands? And how could you use your model to decide how to divide? So rather than going into the more, it was very evident, and students did come up with an understanding of that. Ma'am, it is the coordinates that will be the most important out here. And is there any guess that what exactly I'm trying to do here? Which topic? Any teacher who's been doing IB for a while? Which topic is it that we are trying to touch? Because we never say that this is what we are going to start. We are just going up with it. So this is one of the most new add-on to our IB syllabus. Did we get any response on the chat, Anup?
No, ma'am, I'm
Yeah.
still waiting.
Okay. In the meantime, I'll just go ahead with the question wherein it says that, of course, students came up with a good plotting of their graphs. They came up with the position of this islands out here. And the territories were very well defined by them. Again, a way in which they were modeling a situation. So they modeled it very well on the graph. And henceforth, now came up two questions. I would really like, at least this, I can get an answer from most of you. How do you think that I'll get a distance between AB? How can I get the distance between AB? Is there a formula which can give me the distance between AB?
Okay, we have some response.
Yeah,
Distance formula.
great. And then going into the other thing, that what I do is I generally tell my students, like, I just say, A, Krish, you're standing here. B, Swati, you are standing there. So then there's a third student, and ask him that what path would you like to go, keeping the same distance from A as well as B. And many a times, just like if both the times that the both batches running, I have got the answers from them. Do I have any answers here? What path would a person walk to maintain an equal distance from point A and B? It's a mathematical definition of something. So what kind of that path would be? And there's a reason behind that. This is the mathematical aspect of it.
Anybody?
Will that be median? Sorry.
Will that be median? Will the median only suffice, ma'am, or do we need one more property coming alongside it? You are partly correct. There's
Perpendicular
one more thing.
bisector.
Thank you so much. It is perpendicular bisector, which will keep them in that. So it doesn't becomes difficult for us to make them understand that when, and the topic, can anyone just quickly tell me what is the topic that we are discussing here? What are we
Voronoi.
trying to make? Voronoi, correct. Henceforth, they come up and it is the GeoGebra which I take them, because initially once we did it with the graph there in the class, but when it comes to the graph, what happens is students, as I told you, they have a lot of confusions, that misconceptions of which line, and then they start thinking that my figure will be wrong and they rub randomly any line. But when the same thing is happening with an understanding, I'm very sure it stays with them. So taking help of this, we can just, quickly we can, if we have the same scenario here, it's a very simple thing that we can go to GeoGebra in the class. We can ask our students also to open the same and ask them to take those points. I'm just randomly taking those 3 points there, which can be the things. And one of the very, because if I go by the usual way, you know how cumbersome this whole figure is going to be. Like if I join from A to B, then the perpendicular bisector. So doing the same with 3 lines would really make it a cumbersome figure. And then I would not be able to even realize which one to rub and which one not to rub. Henceforth, what we do is we just take them to the GeoGebra and we ask them to type Voronoi, and there's a pop-up there. It gives you the figure. It gives you the Voronoi figure there. And now then there's a discussion, because there are, what I've done is with the groups, we give it to them different. And then they come up with this understanding that which is the line which is prominent. Because what happens is, even which part of the line needs to be rubbed is, again, they are in fix. Henceforth, after a close observation, a reading, by doing, they are able to understand which lines to retain and which one to rub off. Henceforth, then they come up and I do not have to tell them as an algorithm, now draw this, now draw the perpendicular bisector, this is the line that needs to be rubbed. And even when it comes up with adding on to a point, supposingly I've added on a point which we know that's the toughest one for the HL students. So if I again go for Voronoi and just say A, B, C, and D. And if I ask my students now to explain that what has happened, observe this, the students do come up with their understanding and they are able to tell us that what exactly we are supposed to keep and what is it that needs to be rubbed. So this is another experience which has come from students, and it's like, it's really surprising. And I at times think that, yeah, initially when it's so important that they get those experiences there ever in their classes. Of course, this is another Desmos activity which I'll request Anoop to post in the resources if required. This also guides the students throughout understanding the Voronoi very well and trying to figure out what exactly are we doing there, rather than we coming back and telling them that, look, this is step 1 and this is step 2 and this is step 3, and there will be a question and you're supposed to answer that. Anup, a clue for you.
Yes, ma'am. So here we go with the next clue. And the next clue is the first letter of the name whom we know as the father of calculus. Thank you.
So I would just quickly say that even on the online platform, and even some of them are in class, that how did we do these in our classes? And the task that I was talking about, they did come up with that. They came up with those answers. As a group, also they did presentation. Voronoi, when it came to this plotting them, they would solve this, and it was not one day's work. It kept on happening. They keep on posting that in the Padlets. It was easy, as well as another student can always go back and comment. It's like if they are supposed to reflect on it, it comes up and they are able to come up with the rules on their own, and we really do not have to push it ahead on them. This was the result of Desmos activity that I did with them. And here it was so evident that I saw that my students were not able to get a very good clarity on slide 11. And that we could take it as a discussion when the result is there in front of us. This is another example of one of the formatives which was taken with them. And we had done the sequences by then. And nothing majorly was discussed about the Fibonacci series and how beautifully the students did come up with their own understanding, and they came up and they wrote it as a report for themselves that this exactly is all talking about the Fibonacci series. So Anup, the next clue, as we are coming in towards the session, I think the clues are coming faster for us.
Yeah.
So which clue is this?
Okay, so the next clue is go by the sound of what I am saying. I repeat, go by the sound of what I am saying. She sells seashells on the seashore. Thank you.
Okay, this was another activity which was done with them. It was like basically a birthday function. So the most important one was like we could see that how happy the students were to form their own functions. Like, they had their own functions, which was of a different degrees, because it all depended on the number of digits that the birth dates had, because if there's a 0, then that was not there. So again, there was a lot of healthy discussions in the class. Students kept on asking that what needs to be done, do we take it off or do we have it? And then after that they had their functions, they went about going and seeing whether the same, with the list of the readings that they had, does that fix into their trigonometric, how does it appear in the exponential, what happens in the logarithm. And this is from a DP1 students in few months that they try and explore and they come up with their understanding and findings. So here again, as rightly said by one of our participants here as well, we let them do what they want to do initially. And when we let them do that, they come up with an understanding, because this is also guided. It comes back to us. We try to suggest them. And through this, I'm sure they come up with multiple more examples and things like this. One of the reflections shared by them, wherein they had a pleasure of doing this. This is for the birthday function that I've put in, with which they could understand that how, this whole function that they had to revise, and they went through, and the big idea was that they are able to do their IAs and they're able to solve their questions. However, some of the websites also I would like to share that I have been taken up in the class, which really eases out, because if we are having some applets, these all I would request Anup to share later, or you can just, as you leave your feedback, I can get back with these resources. However, the applets are one of the most important things that they can come up with answers. So to an extent that not even defining and telling them about calculus, coming with the gradient of the tangent, everything, these all things, believe me, students came up with their own. They had a very healthy discussions in the class, and they came up with this understanding that this is what it depicts. And this is how the real life, it can be related to the real life situations. Anup, the last, I think second last one for us.
Yeah. So the next clue is the symbol that represents the collection of positive, negative, and null numbers. I repeat, the symbolic representation of positive, negative, and null numbers, or we can say it in this way, representation of the set of positive, negative, and null numbers. Thank you.
Okay, the letter that depicts that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Some more explorations that I've been doing with my students is filling a vase here, where I've discussed with the concavity and the points of inflection. They graphed the depth of the functions with respect to the time, and they came up with their understanding. Another very interesting one was the cookie calorie counter, wherein they actually grabbed a cookie, as it's one of the, in our meals we do get that, and they just wondered that how much is the approximate the number of the calories that per cookie had. So just a random thing it came up. So we graphed it and how we could find a function out of it. And then if this kind of things are being taken up in the classroom, I'm sure then the students do come up with a great understanding of what are they expected even in explorations. And this, what we have to do is, there's, of course, we know in IB we have the guides, it's basically based on my own learners. We just had a great, good brainstorm there in our department, wherein we sat together. We thought that when each and every activity can be introduced and taken up with the students for their better understanding. Finally, so we come for our last clue. Anu?
Okay. So the next two clues are something that you will be able to get from here itself. So what you need to do is solve the mathematical problems below. The solutions will give you the position of the letters in the English alphabet. Like for example, if your solution ends up to a digit 2, then your answer should be B, as the B has the position 2 when we start writing the English letters. So the last two clues are right in front of you. Thank you.
So I think it will take us a minute to solve it, but being, I think, mathematicians, it should come faster. And that takes us almost to the end of the session. And with all things, I think by now, is there anyone who has got all the letters? The letters that you've accumulated through the clues. Do we have any response, Anu? Anyone who's got? Just raise your hand and just say that.
Yeah, somebody can raise hand, or maybe they can write the letters that they have come up.
Typing might take a time, so I think they can raise their hands.
Anybody?
Is it experience?
Oh, you got all the letters right, ma'am? So these are the letters. These are the letters that you would have got with each clues. And of course, yeah, I just wanted to wind up with this understanding that the experience is very, very important. If they experience the block road of anything, that the thing that they are proceeding with, they have to negate this and they have to accept this. So if that is an experience of a child, I think then that stays for long. And that, I think, as a maths facilitators, it becomes our duty for us to give such experiences in our daily classrooms. So when we are able to create, that they are able to have such experiences, I'm sure their journey becomes much more easier with one of these difficult subjects that they say so. So thank you so much. And I would request Anup to post this link there in the chat box. Please put in your feedbacks out here.
Great session type कर दें?
Ji? Hello? Is there a question there?
No, ma'am. You can go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. So please post the link there on the chat box, Anup.
Ma'am, it is done. I request all the participants to do share their valuable feedback to us, as this really helps us to improve, and we can take up your suggestions and come up with much better learning experiences in the henceforth sessions.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you all being here. If
Thank you.
anyone has got anything to share, you can share. We are there to listen to you.
Anybody from the participants who would wish to? No, ma'am, I don't think.
That's fine. Thank you so much for being here.
It's the
Yeah.
evening time. I think that's why most of our colleagues maybe might like to. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashalata, ma'am.
Yeah, you've been participating.
Thank you so much, Mr. Desai. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Kakali.
Yeah, all have left.
Thank you so much.
We still have participants.
Thank you, Kakuli ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure, sir. Mr. Rohit is asking for the website and the applet link. So definitely, once we
Surely.
receive the reflection from
Reflection. Yeah.
yeah, so we'll be able to share all the details with you. So Kakuli ma'am, how was your experience altogether while conducting this workshop?
I was enjoying the fact that the kind of things that, because I always feel really nice about my students when they share their experiences and they come up with what to the nearest to what we want them to achieve. If that is happening, that is really nice. And in fact, that is what I see on their face when they come up, because initially they are so much puzzled that what needs to be done and what are you asking from
Yeah,
us, how can we do that. But when they solve something out and they come up with that solution and then you ask them what happened, so then that is great to listen from them. So I learn a lot from my students.
absolutely, ma'am.
And of course
Mr.
that
Anup, probably you can
constant.
stop the recording.
Yes, sir.